We now find ourselves in the midst of the 5 darkest executions in history. But, make no mistake, these are no ordinary punishments. These are 5 methods in which the human mind has transformed suffering into an art form. One left a man to rot alive for 2 weeks. Another turned an entire army on its heels with a single sight. And they are all arranged in such a way that the suffering of the victim intensifies progressively. In this video, we'll be counting down. We'll be working our way down from number 5 to number 1. And believe me, what you'll hear towards the end will give you goosebumps. If you're ready, let's get started. Our 5th entry begins in 401 BC, with the Battle of Cunaxa along the banks of the Euphrates River. Artaxerxes II, the King of Kings, found himself facing the army of his own brother, Cyrus the Younger, who sought to seize the throne. At just 22 years of age, Cyrus had marched against his elder brother with an army of around 14,000 Greek mercenaries. But Artaxerxes outnumbered him 2 to 1, perhaps with an army of 40,000 men. In a final move against the enemy, Cyrus launched a direct attack on their headquarters, and at that very moment, a javelin pierced his chest. He died on the spot. The man who threw that javelin was called Mithridates, and he was perhaps the man condemned to the worst fate in history. At first, the king had Mithridates strangled to eliminate him. But there was one condition. He was never to admit that he had killed Cyrus himself. The blame had to be laid at Cyrus's door. However, Mithridates' lips were not as tight as his loyalty. He was condemned to a horrific method of execution, Scaphism. The ritual was about to begin. The victim was laid into a small boat. A second boat was then closed over them, leaving their hands, legs, and head exposed. The victim did not move. They were then forced to drink a mixture of honey and milk if they refused. Their mouth was prized open with reeds, and the mixture poured down their throat. The same mixture was also poured over their hands and feet, and the spread began here. The sweet scent attracted flies, bees, and wasps. As the limbs, caught in the grip of the furious Persian transformation, were being torn apart and devoured, the boat was turning into a swarm that held its victim motionless. According to the historian Plutarch, the maggots and vermin that bred in this filth remained there, slowly consuming him. He was devoured alive. Mithridates' death lasted a full 17 days. Admittedly, some historians suggest that this story may exaggerate Greek aggression in an attempt to portray the Persians as tyrants. There is no archaeological evidence, nor is there any mention of it in Persian records. There is even a theory that Scaphism could have been defeated. But whether fact or legend, this was merely the first entry on our list. For our 4th story, we turn to China. The date is 10 April 1905. In the final years of the Qing dynasty, a crowd has gathered in a busy market in Beijing to watch the execution of a young Mongol named Fuzuli. His crime? Murdering his own master, a prince. According to legend, the prince had set his sights on his guard's wife, and Fuzuli had taken up arms to protect his family. However, under the Confucian moral code, raising a hand against a master, a father, or the emperor was one of the 10 divisive crimes that disrupted the natural harmony of the universe. There was no pardon, not even the emperor could grant one, and Fuzuli was sentenced to Lingchi, prolonged death, or, as it is more commonly known, 1,000 deaths. The victim was tied to a wooden frame, then cut into pieces with a sharp knife without being broken. First, the limbs were severed, the thighs, the arms. Then, the executioner worked his way towards the torso. As the victim writhed back and forth, the execution was prolonged. The executioner, sensing the end was near, plunged the blade into the heart. Even after death had set in, the process did not end. The body was dismembered until it was reduced to the slow, agonizing state of a human being. But why did it go so far? According to Confucius, a person was a trust from their parents, and to harm them was the greatest act of disrespect. The victim of Lingchi did not merely suffer, they were deprived of the right to pass into the afterlife as a whole human being. One of the most notable incidents was the attack on the imperial palace by Liu Xin in the 16th century, who was accused of plotting against the emperor. His execution lasted 3 days, with over 3,000 people being executed at intervals. At the same time, the palace maids, who had attempted to strangle the emperor's 17 girls, most of whom were still children, were also subjected to the same punishment. Just 2 weeks later, on 24 April 1905, Lingchi was banned. She became the last official victim of this practice. But the next method was so horrific, it could turn an entire army on its heels. Our third entry begins on a day in June 1462. The Ottoman Sultan, Mehmed the Conqueror, is advancing with his army into the potential territories of Wallachia in Romania. Opposing him is Voivode Vlad III, a man whose army is less than half the size of his own, and whom history would come to know as the Impaler. As the army approached Târgoviște, the capital of Wallachia, it came upon a scene that has gone down in history as the Forest of the Dead. Up to 20,000 people, including children, had been impaled on stakes that stretched out like a forest. Some were still alive. Having no strength left to struggle, they were groaning in their death throes. A man capable of such deeds cannot be taken from his own country, and he withdrew his army. Impalement was actually a very ancient practice. It was first mentioned in the Code of Hammurabi around 1700 BC. Assyrian kings had rebels impaled, their knees proudly depicted in stone reliefs. However, in this ancient method, the sharp stake would pierce the internal organs, causing death within minutes. This was the crux of Vlad's innovation. Instead of a sharp stake, a thicker one with a blunt tip, lubricated with grease, was used. The stake was pushed along the spine without damaging vital organs and then withdrawn from beneath the bridge. The victims were then left standing upright, sometimes writhing in agony for days on end. And Vlad did not reserve this treatment for his enemies alone. During the traditional festivities of 1457, he invited the Wallachian nobles to his table and asked a seemingly innocent question: "How many rulers have you seen come and go in your lifetime?" When an elderly nobleman replied 15, the smile faded from Vlad's face. "In that case, I cannot trust any of you." Some of the nobles were impaled that very day, whilst others were sent into slavery. In the end, even his own nobles met the same fate. Vlad was killed in a battle against the Ottomans in 1476. His severed head was sent to Istanbul and impaled on a stake to prove that he was indeed the Impaler. Next on our list is the most dreaded method of execution in the ancient world: crucifixion. Contrary to what is depicted in paintings, the condemned person did not carry a large cross. They were simply too heavy to carry a vertical beam, and wood was so valuable that an existing tree or a fixed stake was often used instead. Nor were the crosses erected on hilltops, as is commonly believed, but were erected immediately at city gates and along main roads. An incident in Jerusalem in 1968 changed everything. In Jesus' tomb, each nail was driven into a separate part of the cross, encircling the beam on both sides. A nail that had been driven elsewhere was pulled out to be salvaged and reused. And here's our first entry, the most creative product of human aggression: the bronze bull, or, as it is also known, the Sicilian bull. I was researching the story in the ancient Greek historian Diodorus' monumental work, The Library of History. Around 570 BC, Perillos, an Athenian inventor, approached Phalaris, the tyrant of Acragas, with an idea. Phalaris, notorious for his cruelty, was presented with Perillos' invention, a life-sized bronze bull statue large enough for a person to enter. The victim was locked inside and roasted alive. Perillos pitched his idea to the tyrant with these words: "Your victim will be punished, and you will be set free." Smoke rose from the burning bull, and the statue was filled with incense to mask the odor. It is said that the remaining bones were turned into bracelets. So what became of the inventor? According to legend, Phalaris was repulsed by this ingenious cruelty and said to Perillos, "Since your art can produce this effect, Climb inside yourself so we can see if the pipes really do make that music. And so the inventor became the first victim of his own invention. The final twist, years later, when it was passed on, it was at the very spot where the tyrant Phalaris himself had been killed inside the same bull. The inventor, too, was able to give back to the one who had commissioned his work. The bull's story did not end there. During the Roman period, it is said to have been used against Christians. Legend has it that Saint Eustace, along with his family, was roasted inside the bull on the orders of Emperor Hadrian. Although it is hard to say how much of these serious historical accounts is actually legend, if you see a bronze bull in a museum today, know that it is not the real thing, but merely a depiction. But its story has been told for thousands of years. Here, then, are the 5 most horrific methods of execution in history. Perhaps there is just one lesson to be learned from all this. Humanity's darkest inventions are a mirror reflecting what the lust for power and rage can turn into. Or perhaps all these methods have now been consigned to the dusty pages of history. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Selected in the next video.